She said that Harry had benefited from what she called gender stereotype shifting, and that feminism meant that a man should not feel threatened to have a woman by his side, and that a woman should be by your side, not behind you. Good morning. How are you? Welcome to another episode of Revenge Review. We're going through Tom Bower's Revenge. We are covering 2 chapters today. Both of them are short. Both of them are explosive. So sit back. The first chapter we're covering today is called Baby Shower, in which Meghan pretends that she wants to be a mother and celebrate the coming of her baby, but uses it as a networking event. And the second one is called Wellness. Wellness is kind of a mishmash of a couple of different things that I think Tom Bower wanted to make sure he covered. It's about Harry and his journey into New Age wellness, and then also their breaking away officially and publicly from Catherine and William and creating their own brand of royalty. This is when they get their Instagram handle, and this is when they have pretty much and officially said, we don't like the way that the palace is branding us. We are going to wrestle that out of your hands. We are taking that on for ourselves. And we saw that last chapter. That is when Meghan decided that she was kind of officially done with Jason Knopf, and she was going to go and do and be her own person, and that she was done listening to the whole never explain, never complain. And she sort of stuck her toe in the water of rebranding her public image by getting a collection of friends to go and speak on her behalf to People magazine. That article shocked the palace. They couldn't believe she had the audacity to go out and do something like this. And without permission, clearly she had orchestrated it. She had the gall to lie to their faces and say she had no idea about it. But there was so much content in that article that showed that she had very clearly given her friends directives to speak. She'd included information about private communication she'd had with her dad that those friends would have had nothing to do with if Meghan hadn't given them the information. And we know that Meghan will completely turn on you if you speak to the media without her permission to do so. So none of us believed the lie that, out of the largesse of her friends' hearts, they decided to gift her with this lovely media profile about her. Meghan would have hated that, and she would have cut out all of those people from her life. So we know Meghan had something to do with it. But that was the first time that Meghan decided, hey, I'm not even going to pretend to play by these rules anymore. I make my own rules. I do my own thing. And the things that she's doing in this chapter specifically, well, in both chapters really, she is just completely thrown in the towel on pretending to care about being ingratiated into the royal family. She doesn't like them. She doesn't care about them. She's shown that by how little she's been involved with all of the royal family's traditional charities and events that royals are usually involved in. So much of it is low-key. So much of it is not fancy or exciting whatsoever. Well, Meghan doesn't want to do fancy and not exciting, and you'll see that when we talk about her baby shower. And the price tag blew my mind. I really didn't think I could be any more shocked by how Meghan spends money. This was its whole new thing. So, starting out with baby shower, then we're going to get into wellness. A few things that came up in the comments. Thank you so much for all of your input about books to do with David and Wallace, and I think it's going to be a really, really interesting topic. I've had some people really, really, really want me to talk about Meghan and Harry's book, Finding Freedom, that was written by Omid Scobie. You guys, I can't talk about them anymore. I mean, I've heard it all. I've reached my Meghan and Harry capacity. I have not done talking about the royal family because, there's just so many members of that family, and all of them have such very interesting lives. We could spend years dissecting the lives of each of these people. We probably will. But I need a break from Meghan and Harry. I just can't keep talking about the same old stories over and over again because we read all of Harry's versions of it, and now we've read all of the counter versions of it. And I know that there is this desire for us to then read courtiers and hear about it from the palace's perspective. I think that we're already kind of on team palace. I think most of us are like, offended by what Harry and Meghan have done to the royal family and to the palace and to the institution of the monarchy. We don't like that, So I kind of feel like we're just all already on the same page so much with this. I would love to talk about something else that is new. And I think that Wallis Simpson would be a really interesting character to talk about because she is not as conniving as Meghan. Meghan is like the sloppiest villain of all time. And I think that Wallis Simpson was her own kind of villain. Certainly self-centered, functioning on a moral plane that many of us will never be on. I think, though, that she'll be a more interesting villain. And we know that she wasn't ever trying to become the queen. She was happy to be the mistress. And in fact, I don't even think she was into David. I think that her feelings for him were exactly zero. Well, I don't want to say zero, but I think that she saw him more as a easily manipulated side piece. And I think she got sucked into something that was out of her control. Now, that's my perception of it, of my very limited understanding of what went on. We shall see. I'm still trying to decide which books to choose. I've seen two that keep coming up, so I'm kind of debating between those two. But anyway, I don't want to do Finding Freedom. I already know it's so full of lies, and I'm like, I've reached my capacity for lies with these people. It probably would be fun, and maybe down the line we will, but I just don't want to waste any more of your time on this topic. You guys already know way more than I do. So even listening to me fumble around and try to figure out and put the pieces together is probably sometimes taxing because it's like, girl, please, this is old news. And then on the topic of Diana is such a complicated individual that I think it would take several books for us to give her memory and justice. She was like exceedingly complicated. And I feel like, not that I never want to touch Diana, but I just don't feel like I'm ready to talk about her just yet. I kind of want to go back a little bit and talk about maybe some of the foundational ruptures that happened in the royal family that made a Harry and Meghan situation possible. The other thing that continues to come up in the comments, and I even had a whole segment in my last episode that I ended up cutting out because I was like, I don't know if I want to say that. But as more and more people continue to ask this question of me, I feel like I need to address it in some capacity because you guys probably feel like I'm ignoring you. And I don't want you to feel that way. I feel like this is a relationship that we have here. This is like a book club. And if you ask me a question, I want to answer it. And I want to be transparent. But I also just don't want to be offensive. I don't want to drive people away because of this opinion. So all I can say is this is solely and completely my own opinion. And numbers of people have asked me to look at Lady C's books, to read Lady C's books. Every day somebody asks me that. And without going into an extensive rant about it, because nobody needs to hear that, my problem with her isn't that she doesn't have lots of insight. She's positioned to know so much more than many, many people. And that's what makes her such an attractive individual to interview and somebody whose books you would want to read, because she has an inside track. She has access to all the people and all the stories and all the experiences that the rest of us are just watching with binoculars. So of course she draws numbers and fantastic. She's got a great channel, tons of people interview her. She's got lots of books. She doesn't need me to plug her books and her info because she's already got it all. She has got an amazing platform. Even that being said, that's not the reason that I don't want to cover her books just because she's already got lots of people talking and she doesn't need me. It's not even that. Obviously I will cover anything if it's on the topic. My contention is that I don't feel that she's very charitable with the information that she has. And when I consume content that she has created on the rare occasions that I have, and when I read things that she's written or see her in interviews, I feel like sometimes she's not a good steward of the position that she has. And as soon as she gets a juicy tidbit, she comes running to tell her followers all about it. And, well, that might make me sound like I'm incredibly hypocritical, that though we're both talking about the same topic, I somehow have a problem with the way she's doing it. The reality is that when you come to my channel, my hope is that the holistic experience will be more of a net positive than a net negative. So I don't want you to leave feeling like, oh, I just gossiped for an hour. I would rather us come together, have a few laughs, talk about really interesting books, but talk about the motivation behind why people do what they do. So when I talk about Harry and Meghan and some of the crazy things they're doing, it's wild. And I don't think that there's any law that says we can't note that it's wild and it's crazy. The truth is what they do is wild and crazy. And to whitewash it or pretend that otherwise, I mean, that's just disingenuous. But I want to still talk about it, remembering the humanity of the people that we're talking about, right? And I want to still talk about it, remembering that I'm as human and as flawed as either one of them. If I've had the privilege of having parents that have tried to steer me and guide me towards better uses of my time, if I have a foundation in faith that maybe the both of them are lacking, that would shape and mold their moral integrity, that's a blessing to me, So I want to approach the topic of Harry and Meghan with the understanding that there might be certain privileges that I've had in my upbringing that lends me the ability to say, hey, this is truth, this is error, this is moral, this is immoral. And sometimes, though I'm definitely here to be like, it's entertaining and it's fun, I also want to make sure that I'm remembering the people that I'm talking about are human beings, and I don't want to just malign them. And so my problem with Lady C is that I think that she has been positioned in a place to have the gossip, and then she delivers the gossip and enjoys destroying people's reputation. Sometimes I get that feeling, and I could be completely wrong. You guys will definitely correct me in the comments if I'm out in left field. I haven't watched everything she's ever created. I haven't read all of her books or seen all of her interviews. So I could maybe be completely wrong, and you guys will let me know, and I would love to be corrected. If I am in error in that, and if I have developed a perception of her personality that is incorrect, I want to know differently, because all of you have recommended her books so often that it is 100% possible I've just seen the wrong videos of her, or watched the wrong interviews, or read the wrong things, or just misunderstood her tone. So anyway, I've made the decision thus far not to do one of her books. And I know that my sorry little channel not reviewing her books, that's no dent, or that's no dent to her. She's got tons of people who talk to her and interview her, and continue to put forth her content and her insights. And so I know that I'm not doing her any hurt, but I also know that I have to be responsible with the content that I bring and the sources of that content. So anyway, that's just my little answering back to how many people have asked me to do that book, and I have not said anything thus far. And I just want to be really transparent as to why I'm not. But again, if I'm wrong, please help me understand better in the comments. Okay. On to the chapters, finally. Wellness and baby shower, but baby shower first. Okay, so I find it wild that Meghan even thought that she needed to have a baby shower for this baby. One of these days I've got to go down the full rabbit hole about this baby. Because I totally poo-pooed the idea that she could ever have fabricated a pregnancy. My mind has been changed significantly on that topic. But Meghan wants to have a baby shower for this baby. So let's just, for the sake of argument, pretend she's actually pregnant. And she tells everybody that she wants to have a traditional baby shower, and she obviously can't do that in London. You crazy? Well, how is she going to have a baby shower in London? Also, she has no friends in England. So she decides that she's got to go back to the home country, and she goes back to the motherland. And I think that it's weird that she wants to have a baby shower at all, because a baby shower seems like a real plebeian type of thing for somebody in her station to need or want. I mean, Meghan, you need a box of diapers and a couple of onesies. I mean, like, why are you having a baby shower? People have baby showers so your friends can give you gifts, but you don't need gifts, Meghan. It just seems weird to have a big party for your baby. Like, did Catherine ever have these big baby showers? Like, I just even think that the name baby shower connotes an idea of your friends coming together and helping you to set up for this new baby, which is all well and good for those of us, who live regular lives. Your friends want to help celebrate in that way. But for Meghan to bring all her friends together under that banner, it just seems kind of weird and grabby to me. Greedy, really. Well, she had every intention of getting things from people, but it wasn't necessarily onesies and diapers. It was a networking event of the highest order that lived under the banner of baby shower. So, Tom Bauer writes, at 7.5 months pregnant, Meghan wanted a traditional baby shower. With few friends in London, she would celebrate in America. In the 32nd week of pregnancy, she could safely fly to New York for a party. There, she would plot her destiny. Her suicidal depression seemed to have disappeared. Well, yes, it would, because she was depressed because she had lost control of the narrative. After the People magazine article came out, then she realized, hey, wait a second, I can still wrestle back power. I can still be the queen here. I can still live on top of this mountain. I don't have to be denigrated to some kind of lower rank. I actually can manage this on my own. All I had to do was get a high-powered PR person. So it wasn't a baby shower. It was a time for her to plot and plan with the movers and the shakers in New York. But she can't say that, so she calls it a baby shower. Meghan would claim that the party was organized and hosted by a university friend for 15, quote, close friends. Okay. The version in New York was different. After conversations with Oprah Winfrey and others, it was said Meghan asked Serena Williams' publicists. There were 3 of them, by the way. Serena Williams has 3 publicists. Somebody named Jill Smoller, somebody named Kelly Bush Novak, and Celine Cavarani. And she wanted all 3 of them to arrange this party. Do you hear how wild this is? Arrange the party. But why would you need somebody to arrange the party? It's a baby shower with 15 of your friends. Okay, so it'd be one thing if she wanted to fly to New York and celebrate the coming of the baby with friends, I guess, even though I think that is so extravagant, I cannot barely comprehend even that. But say like you were in the financial position to go and celebrate your new baby with your friends. It seems like, how are you going to, fundamentally, it doesn't make sense to have a baby shower with your friends in another continent. If they decide to give you presents for the baby, now you got to fly all those presents back. Why wouldn't they just send you something if they wanted to give you a present for the baby? I don't even understand. I mean, this is so typical of her. It's always about presenting an image to the world that she thinks people will accept. She thinks people will accept this idea of a baby shower, but people don't accept it when they find out that it was the farthest thing from a baby shower that has ever been held on the face of the earth. I can't even believe that this far along in her life, where she has seen so often the ramifications of her lies, that she would continue to think that people are buying this act. Anyway, she's got 3 publicists to arrange her baby shower. What, you didn't have 3 publicists arrange your baby shower? Sorry. The result bore no resemblance to a traditional baby shower, obviously. How could it, when you have publicists arranging it? And it wasn't like a party celebrating the birth of a soon-to-come child. All it was a launch pad for a group of friends who were all looking to financially exploit Meghan's new platform and Meghan's new status. So, I mean, it's an insult to her. She should be offended that people wanted to come to this party solely because now she has new status. None of these people could have been bothered to have anything to do with her before. But now they all realize that, oh, Meghan Markle? Oh, wait a second. I do remember Meghan. Oh, my gosh, our paths totally crossed. And we would have been such besties. It's just, we were working on different projects. But it is so, so, so good to see her again. And I can't wait for us to, have a chance to sit together and just remember old times. It's going to be so good. None of these people could have bothered with her before. I don't know how she's okay with this. But the thing is that she has functioned for so long as a networker and a user of people that she's past the point of even seeing it for the colossal insult that it is. It's just how you do. It's just how people function in the world. Everybody does it. She invented Jessica Mulrooney. There was 2 actresses, Abigail Spencer. I've never even heard of Janina Gavankar. Then she invites her hairstylist, and both her hairstylists got to come. Her fitness trainer got to come. Okay, that's, first of all, the 3 people listed at first, Jessica Mulrooney and the 2 actresses, that's where the normal stops. Then, I mean, I don't know how close you are with your hairstylist. I don't know, would you guys have invited your hairstylist to your baby shower? Maybe, depending on how close you are to her. Your fitness trainer, okay. But that's the departure. It went from, okay, that makes sense. Okay, that's interesting, to what is this person doing at your baby shower? The more important guests were the NBC executive Bonnie Hammer and Oprah Winfrey's close friend Gayle King. And then, of course, Amal Clooney gets to come. She's got to invite that girl because that's how she's getting home on the private jet. So I guess Amal can come. Naturally, Meghan's confidant, Misha Nonu, was invited. Nonu had already exploited their friendship for advertising another of her products, that Saturday skirt that we've already talked about. And with the tag recently worn by Meghan Markle, the Duchess of Sussex, she had been privileged to use Meghan's standing already, but she was looking for round 2. With Meghan's blessing, other invitees intended to do the same thing. Celine Kavarani, a publicist, would use the event to promote her clients' fashions. Jessica Mulrooney hoped to capitalize on her friendship to get an enhanced TV contract, and Serena Williams, who funded the party, would re-advertise her brand, citing Meghan's name. The guest list was Meghan's latest shot at launching her own celebrity in America. If there had ever been any doubt in anybody's mind at the palace that Meghan was potentially wanting to go back to America, without a doubt they knew now that she totally wanted to leave. And she had absolutely no intention of staying. Everything about this party screams, I am padding my landing for my fall from grace. On the 15th of February, Meghan arrived in New York for 5 days. She headed for the Mark, promoted as New York City's most boldly lavish hotel. Her suite was £15,000 a day. Now, when it says that Serena Williams funded the party, I don't know if that means her stay at the Mark or if we're talking about just literally the party. Because we're going to get a price tag on the party. It will blow your mind. This is not you and your aunts getting together and playing some party games with diapers and chocolate pudding, okay? This is crazy town when it comes to spending. So her room alone, we haven't even gone to the party, £15,000 a day. The Mark was one of the city's few luxury hotels that could guarantee full frontal publicity for every arrival. There was a side door, but it was practically unusable. So people went there to be seen. That was the purpose of being at the Mark. Meghan's dinner on the first night was with, who do you think? Marcus Anderson. He's showing back up. Then she's got Jessica Mulrooney. Of course, she's got to have her girl with her. Then she's got Serena Williams and Gayle King. Now, at the start of this whole book, Serena Williams was like a question mark as far as like what their friendship was. We remember Meghan trying to get in with Serena early on when she had the TIG because she was trying desperately to get photos with celebrities so that she could increase her own name and people's public awareness of her. And it was sort of scoffed at the beginning of this book about how close Serena and Meghan actually were. But Serena's name is coming up frequently now, especially since she went to the wedding. And after having been at the wedding, now she's kind of working with Meghan behind the scenes and prepping her to get back to America. But Serena Williams has every intention of using Meghan just as Meghan's used her. Everybody's playing this nasty game. And Gayle King, I mean, we know Gayle King's relationship to Oprah, so Oprah has been trying to grease this deal for a while, and now she's getting Gayle in on it. So now Meghan is really being brought into this fold of broadcasters who are looking to make some money off of her, but not like Meghan cares. She doesn't care. She's totally fine with it. I'll use you if you're using me. Let's all just have a great big orgy of celebrity status. Meghan found it therapeutic to be among friends sharing her values in her own country. Thank God she can just be with people where she can speak freely. What she really means is, here I have a captive audience that will let me talk and talk and talk, and somebody who won't shoot down my balloon. But the problem is that she's with people who are also trying to live their own fantasy and also trying to make a world that never is touched by the hardness of reality. The palace at least had her realizing that the world doesn't revolve around you, and to your betterment that you understand that. But Meghan's with people who all want the globes to revolve around them. And here they can sit and talk about how their truth has been infringed upon, how they're constantly being oppressed and maligned. Like, all of these people love the talking points of how people one time hurt them, but they rose from the ashes. It's like they love nothing more than a story about, pulling yourself up by your bootstraps against all odds. Everyone was against you. But they also love to talk about how even though they're so strong, they can't seem to get ahead. That's the other thing that I don't understand about this group of people. They want to talk about their strength, but then it seems like they're never, rising to the potential that they keep telling you they have. So it's like either you don't have the potential or there actually isn't a crisis here. Well, listing her grievances, just as she had done to her 5 friends who were quoted by People magazine, Meghan's sincere loyalty towards the royal family appeared to be slender. Did she just monopolize every conversation she gets into? I would hate to have to sit down and eat with her because she'd want to keep rehashing the same sad little talking points about how the palace just hated me so much. I've just been maligned. I've just been abused. It's just Harry and I against the world. Meghan did not pretend to be modest, by the way, on this trip. Remember how in People magazine, one of the huge points there was how frugal Meghan was? With zero evidence to substantiate that claim. Well, Meghan didn't care about what people were noticing on this trip. She planned to be outrageous in her spending. That's part of being the celebrity, that you can spend, and you don't have to watch your pennies like the rest of America. She had no intention of following the Queen's notable frugality. And honestly, nor could she. Not when she's running with this crowd, not when she's going to this hotel, not when she has promised a party that is going to exceed every single expectation you could ever have for a baby shower. Like those who financed the baby shower, she was determined to get her money's worth. Journalists and photographers, briefed by organizers, were crammed behind specially erected crash barriers outside the hotel. Wearing an unmissable red jumpsuit and big sunglasses, Amal Clooney clearly wanted to be photographed walking toward the hotel door, possibly to show solidarity with Meghan. Some guests carried large gift bags. A harp was slowly wheeled in. A trolley of away suitcases followed. Okay, I forgot to look up what this away suitcase business is. But that mental picture alone, think about this, you guys. Think about the baby showers you've either had for yourself or the ones that you've attended. Small private affairs at someone's suburban home. You and your girlfriends and female relatives getting together to celebrate with your Target baby clothes and your, diapers and your, gift cards and like, this is the baby. These are the baby showers that I've known. Okay. And I would even say that the nicest baby showers that I've ever been to still are not like this. I mean, who has publicists arrange a baby shower? People who don't have real friends. That might be one answer to that question. But we've got this baby shower at this ridiculously overpriced hotel. There are journalists and photographers who somehow have been made aware of this. What if you are so concerned about being a private person and not being bothered by everybody and people not getting in your business, then why didn't one of these 15 friends that you're meeting in New York for your baby shower not decide to host it at their home? No, you can't have that. The photographers, the journalists, everybody knows it's going. Everybody's got their cameras out. The guests are coming in with their big gift bags. We've got a harp being rolled in. We've got this huge trolley of away suitcases, which I assume were gift bags that were given to the people who came to this party. Because everybody who left with one of these suitcases. I mean, what? I don't even know what was in the suitcases. Everybody was headed towards the $57,000 a night penthouse. This was a 5-bedroom suite with 2 bars. And Meghan's guests knew from photos what they could expect, because they'd already been posted earlier by Darcy Miller, the party planner, who had prepared a vast excess of food. There were 4 macaroon towers. There was designer biscuits. There were cakes, mini meringue pies on gold-trimmed plates, enormous displays of flowers. I mean, it was just excess to the extreme. There's 15 people that have been invited to this party, okay? 15 friends. But for 15 friends, we need 4 macaroon towers. Okay, interesting. Use of funds. Less than 2 hours later, the guests departed. Each guest had been promised the home delivery of one of those away suitcases that they'd seen rolling in. So I guess they were just shown, like, this is what you get for having come to this party. Certain she would be photographed again, Amal Clooney stepped into her car in the front of the hotel. Meghan left the hotel wearing a baseball hat in clothes promoted by Celine Cavarani. As soon as the party's over, everyone's got the afterglow. Everyone wants to rush out and now promote their inclusion on this little celebrity-starred shindig. And Misha Nonu, the next day, was appearing on NBC's Today program to discuss her friend Meghan's passion for her fashion designs. Meghan loves everything I make. I mean, when I tell you that I have a fan in Meghan Markle, I am telling you that Duchess loves everything I do. With lightning speed, Meghan's makeup artist, Daniel Martin, posted flowers, posted pictures of the food, rattles and bibs, and his salon's address. Don't forget, you can come look as good as Meghan does. Abigail Spencer used the attendance to promote the fact that she had a new show coming out called Rectify. Janina Gavankar blessed the publicity generated by the baby shower to be cast in a new acting role. So everybody who came got a little piece of the Markle pie. Gayle King, after appearing on CBS to plug her intimacy with Meghan during the shower party, successfully lobbied for a new lucrative contract. King's promotion owed much to Oprah Winfrey. Oprah has always been helping Gayle up every rung of the ladder. Their relationship's always been a big question mark for me. Both of us, Oprah said, grew up as black girls striving to do better in our lives. King is the mother I never had, the sister everybody would want. She's the friend everybody deserves. I don't know a better person. So the two of them have been in cahoots for some time, and both of them are working Meghan from every angle. The following day, Meghan flew back to London on Amal Clooney's private jet. She has never met anybody she loves better than Amal Clooney, because Amal Clooney's jet has now become Meghan's favorite way to travel. Soon after landing in Britain, her critics launched a ferocious onslaught. How could a self-obsessed philanthropist, they demanded, indulge in a junket estimated to have cost £325,000? You guys, 325,000 pounds. I feel like I can't breathe. How in the world could a person spend this much money and then think we're all going to buy the outlandish tale that it was a baby shower meant to celebrate the coming of our young child? Please, Meghan. Her defenders retorted that the critics were racist. Oh my gosh, that sad, sorry excuse. Tom Bauer provides them with a better one. He says that a more convincing reply would have been that Prince Charles sought out hospitality from shady donors on private yachts, jets, and holiday islands. So, you know, what one royal does, why can't the other do also? But it's just so much easier to say racist. It's shorter. It's easier to get out of your mouth in a quick way. What I feel, though, is that I'm not racist by saying that I think she shouldn't have spent that much, but I am wastist. Like, let's not waste things, okay? Let's not just waste money. I'm against that. I'm against waste. For somebody who cares so much about the poor, marginalized individuals around the globe, for somebody who just cares about women and uplifting everybody, that is an outrageous misuse of funds. Even if this was your own personal money, should you really have a party that costs this much? Isn't there something better you could do? Like, even just for your own family, like a better way for us all to share this money? Seems crazy to me. All right, well, 2 days after returning to London, Meghan and Harry flew on to a standard BA flight for an official 2-day visit to Morocco. Yes, please do fly normal standard flights, because of course she can't take the private jet to go do royal work. That, you know, wasting money is just what she does on her own personal time. And after the backlash there, even if they had access to a private flight, they couldn't have possibly taken it, because everyone was in a, hubbub about what they just witnessed. Meghan performed perfectly in public, but in private, continued to rage about the media's criticism of her trip to New York. How could she not have anticipated that people would find it completely and totally tone deaf to waste that kind of money? For a baby shower, even if she'd said, I'm going to go and have a party with my friends, people would have been even less likely to be outraged. But it's the fact that she thinks she can pull the wool over our eyes. That's what people are reacting to. I said this in the last episode, if she wants to be outrageous, she wants to be loud, she wants to be rude, she wants to be in your face, she wants to be controlling and difficult and all these negative things. People would almost be willing to deal with it if she just would stop pretending she wasn't that way. And this stupid baby shower is another extension of that. Don't call this networking experience, this junket, a baby shower. Don't use your baby like that. I mean, that's the other thing. It's like you could have had a party celebrating the soon birth of your child that, as far as you want to claim, this is your first baby you've ever had. Okay, this should be a huge, exciting time for you. Not a time when you're using the pending birth of your infant as a way to continually hobnob with the elites, or at least try to get in with the elites. None of the people who came to the party seemed that exciting to me. But, well, Serena Williams is pretty well known. And Gayle King. But other than that, I mean, who are some of these people? So, people resent Meghan for constantly lying to our faces and thinking we won't notice. That is offensive. That is annoying. In her state, Meghan said that she needed extra protection provided by private jets. And for people to continually harp at her for having taken one, how dare they? Her first problem was the fact that they should even suggest she should be riding around in a commercial jet. Please. How unsafe for a pregnant woman. But then her second problem was that she eventually comes around to, because people are like, yeah, but pregnant women fly all the time. What are you talking about? It's not dangerous. Then she's like, well, actually, my real problem is just the media's dishonesty. That's ultimately my problem. And she said that how could people criticize her during her pregnancy? Because she hadn't even been visible to anybody. Like, she just stayed holed up and like taking care of her and her baby. That was her only thought the entire time, was her and her baby. And she had just lived a quiet little life. And she claims, I wasn't even visible. I was on maternity leave or with a baby in the entirety of 2019. So I don't really know why people had anything to say about what I was up to, because they didn't even see me. I was like, but Meghan, we did see you actually. We saw you come to New York and throw a 325,000-pound party that lasted like 2 days. So don't even with, I wasn't even visible. Well, the New York trip appears to have settled Meghan's fate. Contemptuous of the palace and the staff, she decisively set out to fashion her own career regardless of the monarchy. Once again, she took the initiative and worked in secret. Y'all, this is diabolical. And I can tell you this secrecy would have scared me. If I were in the palace, her continual need to work and function in secret and making all these secret deals. I mean, it's come out over and over and over and over and over that she's had a hand in manipulating stories in the media. Way back to those pictures with her dad, we all had a lot of questions about how that went down. Now, Thomas Markle doesn't say she actually had a hand in those pictures, but there's been enough evidence to suggest she certainly knew the photographer that went knocking on her father's door. So all the way back to that, she's been manipulating the media. But now she's not even going to try to hide her intentions of being her own PR manager with the help of some of her Hollywood friends. Now we're going to come to a story where she is going to start working with this guy from British Vogue, this editor from British Vogue. This whole thing is shrouded in mystery, okay? It's questionable whose idea this was for her to be functioning with British Vogue. Now, the palace had nothing to do with it, but I'm saying it's questionable between, was it her idea or was it the editor's idea, okay? But I'm going to read the story to you guys and then we'll talk. So, inspired by her Los Angeles publicists, she'd emailed British Vogue's magazine's new editor, Edward Enninful. The 41-year-old had worked in magazines since he was 17. His dramatic appointment as editor confirmed his skills. Now, without introduction, okay, Meghan, just like she did way back when she went, was it Elle magazine she trotted in and she was all like, you guys, I have an idea. Well, she does the same thing here without an introduction. Meghan asked Enninful whether Vogue could promote SmartWorks, a British charity who she had joined in January. The charity trained disadvantaged women for job interviews and provided suitable clothes. Intrigued by the approach, Enninful headed to Kensington Palace to meet a woman equally ambitious and hungry for publicity. SmartWorks was not the only reason for approaching Enninful, and in fact, it probably was zero reason for approaching him, but she needed to have something that sounded really attractive and on brand for the palace so that she could get him into the lion's den. Enninful had developed a narrative about his ambition to be a positive force for change. So, of course, that's the way to get his attention, by telling him, hey, do you want to work with me on this great campaign that is, aimed at helping women, disadvantaged women. Of course he's going to say yes to that if his narrative about himself was that he was looking to make the world a better place. As the son of immigrant Ghanaians, his passion was to promote Black women to embrace similar ambitions to white women. What followed during their conversation is inevitably disputed, of course, because we don't have any record of it. Now, Meghan says that after she settled the dogs around her, she approaches him with this brilliant plan. What if I guest edited the next edition of Vogue? What about it? See, I think it's going to be a great plan because I have such an eye for fashion and I have for so long. You can tell by how good I look all the time. And I am my own stylist. So for me to guest edit Vogue would actually be to your advantage because I've looked at the last few issues and it's my opinion that you can actually do way better than you've been doing. And I think that under my careful tutelage, we could really get the next issue up to par and it could be really fun for you. Just to kind of work with somebody with my eye, and with my talent for the written word, my talent for the visuals, for beauty, really. It could be eye-opening for you. So I'm throwing that out there. I'm sure you're going to take the bait because you can hear how good this is, right? You can hear it. And I think this is going to be a great, sort of a milestone. It'll be a mile marker for British Vogue after this issue comes out. It'll be like a before and after moment, like before Meghan edited and then Vogue after. It's going to be one of those sort of tentpole moments for British Vogue. I know it can be, and I know it will be if you take me up on this offer. Okay, so that's what she says happened. The editor's staff ridiculed the notion. Her idea, get the hell out of here. That wasn't her idea at all. And in full knew that Meghan would be a brand worth working for. At that moment in time, she was just hot enough that she could lend him some credibility if they worked together, but not in the same way that Meghan would have thought. He wanted to use her, and he wanted to use her rising star and her status, particularly because his hope was to uplift Black women. And so her whole narrative about being biracial would have worked hand in glove with the hope that he had to elevate women of color into what he would say are white women positions. And in full, rather than Meghan, they insist, decided that the Duchess would be a perfect money-making vehicle for the magazine. In his version, and in full suggested that Meghan guest edit the critically important September issue. She'd be the first guest editor at British Vogue, a magazine renowned as a fashion elite's Bible. The woman who rarely stepped out of Kensington Palace in clothes costing less than $5,000 and high-heeled Manolo Blahniks to elevate her 5 foot 5 inch to 5 foot 5'10", saw no reason to inform palace officials about her decision. And in full classed the project as top secret, with unprecedented disguise, and in full assigned one team to produce the normal September issue, unaware that it would never be published. In parallel, and in full, and a team of 13 produced the special issue. The focus would be on 15 women nominated by Meghan as her heroes or forces for change. All right, you guys, if you had been part of that other team working your little fingers to the bone to produce the September issue of Vogue, and then lo and behold, Enninful's over there with a second secret team and Meghan Markle doing another issue, and your issue never goes to press, but you've been up there stressing about it as though it were, can you imagine the fallout at the workplace from that? That is like the worst plan I've ever heard from any boss ever. The fact that he thought he could do people like that is astounding. What is up with these work environments? Meghan enters into the scene and all hell breaks loose. Shocking to me that they would think this is okay. All right, that's the end of that chapter. On to wellness. Like I said at the start, this particular chapter is kind of a mishmash of a bunch of different things that I think will come in handy later on, but he's got to lay the groundwork or at least get them in, or they're points that he thinks are worth our note. The first point that he makes is that Meghan has completely usurped Harry's personality when it comes to how he deals with his wellness, right? So Meghan has a whole new regimen for Harry. Boy, y'all, it is hot out here. I usually film in the morning like 4 a.m. and I didn't get to it this morning, and I'm doing it now, and I'm glistening, y'all. I'm glistening. Okay, anyway, it's hot out here. Sorry, but Meghan she wants Harry to understand that he can have wellness, but in a whole new way. And she would have him learn the sort of California way to approach wellness. That would include holistic medication, numbers, gongs, crystal bowls, inner calm, chakra balancing, special massages of the body, of the inner mouth. It's a whole new world for me, y'all. The man who once reeked of tobacco, not least after smoking marijuana, also stopped drinking alcohol. That's not what he was telling us in his own book, by the way. So I don't know where this information came from, but in Harry's own testimony in his book, he didn't stop doing drugs. He found a whole new kind of healing, not from stopping the drugs, but from doing them. This was a heyday for him when it came to psychedelics, because he said psychedelics are where he really started to understand himself, or he started to have spiritual healing. I said it back then, y'all. I'll say it again this time. I never did any drugs growing up. I wasn't tempted by alcohol. I was never tempted by anything except the one thing I did want to do at a certain point in my life, though I didn't do it, was psychedelics, because I thought if people are having these spiritual experiences, that sounds kind of interesting. I kind of want to know what that is. What experience are they having that I haven't had a chance to have, right? And the more I looked into it and the more I wondered what it was, the more I realized I am opening up the world. I am opening myself up to a spiritual reality that I will not be sober-minded enough to intake. I am fully aware that there is a spiritual world out there. As a Christian, how could I think otherwise? If there is a God and that if there is good, then there is, of course, evil. You cannot have good if there isn't a counterpoint to it, because then good could not be defined. So, of course, there's evil in the world. But I also know that evilness can come as an angel of light. And I also know that darkness is not going to come at me with 10 out of 10 lies. It's going to come at me with 9 truths and 1 lie. And I'm not going to know where that lie is, but I'm going to take it all in. And when I started thinking about psychedelics, I thought, I think that there's no experience that I'm going to be offered in that realm that I could not be offered sober-minded. Like, God's not going to make me jump through hoops to find him. Like, if I really believe that he sent his son to earth, he's already come all the distance, right? He's not now asking me to go to some crazy realm and then, interact with little gremlins in Joker hats who might or might not tell me about my fatal flaws. God is not coming to us saying, now jump through these hoops and alter yourself. And then out of the largesse of my heart, I'll maybe give you a tidbit to gnaw on for a couple of years, but until you go on your next trip. It just seemed too weird to me, and it seemed too dangerous to me, and I never got into it. I'm glad I haven't, because I have heard so many people since deciding I'm never going to play around with that. If God wants to tell me something, he'll tell it to me sober-minded. I'm so glad I never did, because there's such a risk to falling into an egregious state of your mental health. There's too much risk to it. And I'm not saying that some people don't do it and come back feeling like they have truths about themselves. But again, I don't believe that you would ever go and have a trip and it would be, sometimes it really is terrible that you have those stories too, but you also have a lot of stories of people who say, oh, it was so great, I learned so much. But then it seems like they are never able to completely get over the hurdle of whatever it is that they went looking to find an answer to, right? So they always have to keep going back and having trip after trip, trying to figure out, how can I be a better person? How can I do differently? And anyway, Harry, I just worry and wonder if this wasn't the beginning of a new mental health challenge for him. Now, when he went, Bauer describes to us a time when Harry went to Heckfield Place Hotel in Hampshire, and he used the spa's specialties. There was breathing workshop, there was a yoga studio, there was all kinds of natural treatments that he partook in. Now, Prince Charles was an advocate for holistic healing and had wanted to change the NHS's ruling on coffee enemas as a cure for cancer. So Charles, I think, would be good with his son dabbling in this kind of stuff. I'm not against non-standard medicine. I think that there's a lot to be said for doctors who are willing to look at non-Western practices. I think that there's probably a lot of healing that could happen that is outside of our current understanding of, doctor-patient care. But I'm talking about this descent into the New Age movement that can be really, really problematic. People watched and looked on with some disdain for Harry's new personality. His conversion to full blast Markle had taken him further than anybody had ever thought that he would go. Jan Moore, who's been a source of interesting commentary this whole time, wrote that Harry was an empty royal cipher into which Meghan had poured all her fresh brewed Dreamweaver jabber, and he had allowed it, and he had swallowed it, hook, line, and sinker. Accordingly, Harry spoke the kind of pseudo-profundo New Age blather that goes down a storm in Malibu juice bars. So everybody thought that Harry was becoming a shallower version of himself and not a better one. The new Harry presented himself to 12,000 school children and students at Wembley Arena on the 6th of March for We Day, a celebration of young volunteers seeking to influence their communities and the world. This is where Harry wants everybody to know that not only is he balancing his chakra, but also he cares about the environment. And you should too, because destruction is just right around the corner. The prince urged the most engaged generation. These are his words. He said that they are the most engaged generation in history who care about values and doing the right thing to shine the light. He said they shouldn't despair when the older generation didn't seem to care. It's so hard, when you look around, you can see all the old people don't care at all. They're stuck in their old ways, but don't despair. You're the brightest generation there ever was in the history of the entire world. You're the best ones. Okay, well, look around you. People are throwing tomato soup at masterpieces. So if this is the greatest generation that has ever walked the earth, I have to say that's problematic. But he was especially incensed about climate change. He said, every blade of grass, every ray of sun, every raindrop is crucial to our survival. I think that there is nothing wrong with teaching children to take care of the environment. I have no qualms with that. We have been gifted this beautiful world. Take care of what we've been given. 100% behind that. But this hysteria that it's all going to end tomorrow is creating anxiety in young people. And it was colossally irresponsible of him to go to this group of young children and tell them that every ray of sun, every raindrop, every blade of grass is crucial to our survival. Placing this idea in their young minds that it's all going to end tomorrow. We can take care of the planet and be responsible with what we have without scaring little kids. That's kind of where I come at this whole debate with. In his speech, Harry damned social media for distorting the truth and trying to manipulate the power of positive thinking. Okay. I have my issues with social media also. I think that it is damning to people's minds. I think it is destructive to the way people think about themselves and those around them and their function in the world. But Harry, have you forgotten that you and Meghan make your living because of social media? And that if it weren't for Instagram, no, you wouldn't have even met Meghan, according to you? He says that Harry forgot that Bauer writes that Harry forgot that Meghan's fame depended on her skill to orchestrate favorable social media. And those contradictions were buried by the audience's loud cheers as Harry dragged Meghan on the stage like she hated every minute of it. Oh, no, Harry, it's okay. No, okay. All right. Thanks, guys. Hey. The two were preaching to progressive, open-minded change makers. That was their banner. And it said, there was another that said, be braver, be stronger, be kind to each other, change your thoughts and change the world. Their performance hid the contradictions about themselves. Because while they're coming out saying, be the change you want to see and all this, great message, but you have to live it. And so while they could blab, blab, blab about, care for the environment, you guys are the change makers, you're the next generation, you're the best people there ever was, everybody fails and falls short of you, you guys are the best ones, and be strong and be brave and be kind and be courageous and all this rah, rah, rah. Harry had failed to note that he was struggling to be brave, strong, and the change he wanted to see in the world, in his own world. Offstage, he felt more unfulfilled than ever. He was living at Frogmore, but he was struggling with another bout of darkness. Well, why might that be? Could it be that you've divorced yourself from all of your family? You're living in a home that's nowhere near Kensington Palace and the work that has to be done. And Meghan is making every single decision for you. Like, you are not your own man any longer. And if you felt like you were under the thumb of the palace, you have just met a bigger giant. Still angry with his brother for refusing to support wholeheartedly his campaign against the media or voice sympathy with his new age politics, Harry felt sidelined. Palace officials were investing new energy to prepare William to be the future king. But no longer in Kensington Palace and feeling physically distanced from Buckingham Palace's officials, Harry became an agent of unrest. The palace realized that Harry was becoming more and more unhappy, and now they needed to come up with a way to make him feel like he was still part of the fold. Don't worry, we still love you, we still care about you. Don't despair. You might be over there in Frogmore, but we've got you in our mind. And so for Charles' 50th anniversary of being the Prince of Wales, I put out this statement that talked about how Charles was really close to Harry, and now, thanks to Charles' excellent relationship with Meghan, they were all bound even closer than ever. So the palace is constantly running interference for Harry and Meghan and trying to placate the public's understanding of the splintering relationships, trying to fix everybody's idea. No, it's okay. We're actually really good over here. Everyone loves each other. Everyone's good. I don't understand why. It's almost like they think that by telling the world that, they're also getting that message to Harry. He's living a completely different reality. But the same thing that I've criticized Meghan for, I'll take a moment to criticize the palace for. Stop saying what isn't true. Fix what's not true, so you can go out and tell the truth. I hate this. I hate how disingenuous all this is. I hate publicity. I'm starting to really realize this now. I mean, this isn't a thing that I'd really spent a lot of time thinking about, but after reading this book, it's like, just be who you say that you are. Just fix the relationships that you keep telling everybody are really healthy. Don't waste the breath. Don't waste the energy on the lie. There's bigger things to do. If the reality is that the family's falling apart, the family's falling apart. Channel your energy into getting people help instead of constructing the next little line that the publicists can say. In reality, Harry had become an unpredictable contrarian. As a patron of expeditions for the Walking with the Wounded charity for former members of the military, Harry was eagerly welcomed at their annual meeting. Now, you'll remember that Harry had gone both to the South and North Pole with the Walking with the Wounded. This is where his little Todger met its demise. And he was really proud, though, of his participation with this group of veterans. So they invite him to this meeting. And when he got there, he was asked to show particular attention to Hans K. Rousing, a Swedish billionaire philanthropist, who was expected to donate a 6-figure check to the charity. So, Harry, be as pleasant as possible and use your platform for good. That's what he had been told to do. But oh no, now that he's got something stuck in his craw, he has all kinds of problems with everybody, and any kind of expectation that's laid on him, he immediately is slouching it off, trying to find a new way to be him. Because let's be honest, like I said, he's being squashed by Meghan. First he thought he was squashed with the palace. Now he's being squashed by Meghan. And that unrest and that agitation and not being able to find a place where he is allowed to be a man and have like a strong goal of his own that isn't being directed and led by the palace or by this woman. He just wants to be him. He's starting to act out. He's like a teenager that's acting out because they're straining against the constraints. Instead, Harry launched into a tirade about the business's failure to limit climate change. Oh, wow, that's not what you need to do. So instead of being nice to this guy, he berates the guy about climate change. Generously, Rousing still gave his donation, but insiders marked Harry down as disruptive and somebody not to include if you're really trying to cozy up to somebody. And it was out of the generosity of this man's heart that he should still give money after being browbeat by this red-headed prince. In Kensington Palace, Amy Pickrell, Meghan's new assistant private secretary, followed Samantha Cohen and resigned after just 1 year. Like many junior staff after her experience in Australia and Fiji, she found working for Meghan stressful. Not surprisingly. In an effort to negotiate an amicable solution, the Queen has run the gamut of the people that she can call for help. Who do you think she calls next for help? Do we remember Geit? Remember how he was let go because Charles and Andrew had a little bitch fit about his inclusion? And when Geit said, hey, everybody, we should be on Team Queen here, quit your side projects, they got together and went whining to Mummy. And so she got rid of Geit. Well, she's calling him back into action. Lord Geit, help us. And he was asked to please help embed Meghan fixedly and permanently in the royal family. Like, clearly, she's got almost both feet out the door. Help us. So he had the idea of giving Meghan the appointment as the first vice president of the Queen's Commonwealth Trust, responsible for education. But of course, they didn't think that that position was going to be enough to hold her. So then they said, since she wants so desperately to leave, Harry kept talking to the family. She wants to go, she wants to go, she wants to go. Never saying exactly what her motivation for going was. We know it's because she wanted to continue to build her own career. But what was being said by Harry was she wants to go because Britain has been a cruel and unusual environment for her and she needs to get out. So Geit says, well, what if we gave you all a permanent appointment in South Africa? Harry, you've always said that was your second home. Would that be something you're interested in? But of course, nobody believed that Meghan would ever be able to endure Africa. More insiders were speculating that she intended to return to California. And their suspicion was sparked by her plan to resume her role as an influencer. So, remember you guys, she has been given an entire staff of royal publicists to work for her and to put her in the media in positive ways, also to teach her how to be a royal and how to carry herself. And William and Harry have the same help. It's not like they just gave it to Meghan because she doesn't know any better. These people tell Meghan how to conduct herself, how to carry herself, what she should and shouldn't do, and what she can anticipate from the media if she does X, Y, and Z. Also, they let her know what stories are coming out, what she should be abreast of, what she can do to craft an image, what she's doing well. She has people, but they're not doing her work here. They're not doing what she wants. It's not, they're never saying what she wants them to say. She longs for the days when she had the TIG and when she had her Instagram and when she was the one in charge of the words coming out of her mouth and when she could craft a narrative and hurry to the scene of the crime when somebody said something they shouldn't about her and she could quell those rumors or, put some kind of little feisty comeback out there. That's what she wants. So she's decided, to hell with the palace and their publicists, I want to be my own person. So she decides the best place to go is Instagram. She wants to call her own shots, and so they've got @SussexRoyal on Instagram where she can rush to the scene and put out her own words, put out her own pictures, do her own thing, and she is not beholden to whatever's going on at the palace. The Sussex celebrity guaranteed attention. So unlike before when she was a basic nobody, she wouldn't have any trouble building a platform if she could finally just get to one. Choosing Instagram as a social media platform for the official website of the Duke and Duchess of Sussex was contentious, though, because Instagram in particular was criticized for fueling anxiety, depression, addiction, and especially very bad for young girls. So if Meghan is really concerned about young women and what's best for them, deciding to call all of the attention on her on Instagram is contrary to all the things she says she cares about, because Instagram is not good for young girls. Instagram is so bad. Instagram is bad for us grown-ups, okay? It's not a good place to spend your time. It's a time waster first and foremost. But then secondarily, all it does is make you want a life that you don't currently have. It's just everybody's highlight reel all the time. It's beautiful people and they're, looking the best they've ever looked. And, there you are in your pajamas with potato chip crumbs down the front and you feel terrible. Look, that person was in their pajamas with potato chip crumbs down their front, not but 2 seconds before they decided to doll up and take a picture, right? But you don't get that reality. So anyway, them deciding that Instagram was the way to go, fundamentally problematic. The new website was designed by Ryan Sachs and David Watkins. They had been the creative agency based out of Toronto who had been in charge of the design of the TIG. At the same time, SussexRoyal.com and SussexOfficial.uk were registered using servers in Arizona. Simultaneously, Meghan's long-term Los Angeles business advisor, Andrew Mayer, registered 2 websites, American Friends of SussexRoyal.com and the American Friends of SussexRoyal.com. You guys, could this mean anything other than she's moving to America? She never had any intentions of doing her Canada thing. She never had any intentions of staying in England. Never did she even contemplate the idea that she'd go live in Africa, of all places. This girl was looking to get to America and get there fast. To recruit new followers to her platform, Meghan featured in London as a thought leader on a panel to celebrate International Women's Day in early March 2019. Asked in public about social media descriptions of herself as woke, she replied, "I don't read anything. I really don't. It's much safer that way." And she also denied reading Twitter. "I'm not part of any of that. No, I don't look at it." You don't? Well, then why are you always so upset with all of your staff about what's online? How are you finding out about that? Do you have some sort of sixth spidey sense where, oh, a tingling in my spine. Someone said something about me. Someone, let's see, where is it? Twitter. My spine is tingling and tells me Twitter has, somebody on Twitter said something bad. A student. The student says that Harry, hang on just a minute, I'm getting a message. Harry is a race traitor for marrying me. Well, that's how I found out. I don't read it. I don't ever read it. It just comes to me, and then I go and I tell my staff to get rid of it. After Meghan says that she never reads any of this junk, the 2 fellow panelists nodded their head in agreement and were so approving of Meghan's sane and refreshing take on social media. But the 2 panelists were also all about Meghan's insistence that the child within her was already a feminist. That, to use Meghan's words, the baby's movements, she was certain, were the embryonic kicking of feminism. Boy or girl, this child was coming out a feminist. And by the way, Harry was also a self-proclaimed feminist. Let nobody tell you otherwise. She said that Harry had benefited from what she called gender stereotype shifting, and that feminism meant that a man should not feel threatened to have a woman by his side, and that a woman should be by your side, not behind you. Okay, but the problem with this is Meghan very clearly was not even beside Harry, but clearly out in front of him. That if equality meant walking side by side, she certainly had no intention of being equal to Harry. She thought she was better than him. And she didn't want any part of this whole idea of being equal together. Hardly. She's more equal. She's better than him in every respect. And she was showing that by her continual insistence that he keep quiet, that she lead the way, that she tell him the way to go forward. Many people had noted that she was leading Harry and that Harry no longer had a voice of his own. The speech coincided with a shift in the Sussexes' plan. Unknown to Geit, in anticipation of the Sussexes' permanent move to America, Meghan's Los Angeles agents were negotiating with Oprah Winfrey. Geit's always the last one to know. Do you guys remember several chapters back when Harry had first met Meghan and she had told him, you need to go out there and talk about your real true self. You need to go out there and talk about the fact that you have a mental health crisis and that you're living in a chaotic darkness of depression. Let the world know your truth. And Geit had no idea that was coming, and he was horrified and shocked. And it was one of those reasons that he said, hey, everybody, let's not have our own agendas. Let's remember that we work for the Queen. Well, Geit also does not realize that Meghan's got her own thing going and that she is 100% prepared to get back to America. And she has 1,000 shady deals going on behind the scenes. The broadcaster, Oprah Winfrey, had pitched to land the first interview if Meghan returned to California. And then to sweeten her offer, she also agreed to produce with Harry a TV documentary series about mental health. So for both parties, she's got something to offer. Meghan, you love to tell your tale of woe. I'll give you a front row seat to the royalty that is Oprah. I'll let you tell me your sad sack story. And Harry, I think you're into, being down. I'll even produce a documentary where you can talk about that. So meetings are in the making, not just for Meghan, but also for Harry. They're looking for a spot for Harry also. Guided by Meghan, Harry had adopted the ideas of Brené Brown, an American psychological researcher. You guys, if you're familiar with this lady, please unfamiliarize yourself with her. She has 1,000 ideas and none of them are great. She is all about don't pretend you have it all together. You just need to lay bare your soul. You're doing it more harm than good by pretending you have it together. Okay, there is a kernel of truth to that. It is destructive to pretend you're something that you aren't. I've said the very same thing in this entire series with Meghan. Why are you pretending to have it together and telling everybody, look what a good person I am, but making no attempts to do that behind the scenes? My problem with Brené Brown is that she almost seems like you are who you are. People need to accept that and let you just be you. You don't have to have a stiff upper lip. You can be a hot mess. People need to accept the hot mess that you are. Okay, let's accept everyone where they're at, but let's not collectively stay there. Let's try to be better people. It just seems like there's a real lack of attempt to be better. Like you've reached the pinnacle of mental health when you're willing to just accept that you're broken and flawed and eternally ill-equipped. I don't like the idea that I would just accept my worst self. I don't like the idea that I would just be the most broken that I've ever been, and that I just want everyone to be cool with that. I want to be better. I want to do better for my people, for my family, for the people who depend on me. I'm not saying I have to have it together all the time, but I find it incredibly damning to think that the best I can hope for in life is that I can get everyone around me to just be okay that I'm a mess. Okay, well, Brené Brown said that famous people need to abandon the stiff upper lip and display their frailty. She said if you develop skin so thick that you start to lose the ability to hurt, then you're at risk of feeling nothing at all. Okay, well, I don't think that's mentally healthy either, but is there not some sort of in-between? Talking about his mental health, she advocated, would help other men to throw off the stigma. Yeah, but that kind of only works if a person's overall life looks like it's okay. And then if they decide to reveal their frailty, then you're like, oh, okay, so his frailty doesn't define him. But if a person's life is already complete and total chaotic mess, you have been a mess in the papers for years, now you're married to a woman who doesn't let you be your own self, and then you come out and say, I'm having mental chaos, that doesn't actually make anybody think, oh, I want a little bit of what he has. Focused on being real, said Brown, Harry would do the world a favor by speaking his truth. Using the royal platform, agreed Meghan, would enable grassroots change to create a better society. Only prejudiced critics would object to their truth. So they're sort of primed to fail here because they're being told, hey, if you go out and say that you have all these problems and that you're just a patchwork of soul-crushing ineptitude, everyone's going to love you for it. But the problem is that that's not actually true. People do want a hopeful message. It's not a hopeful message to just cry all the time in public. Contracted by Apple TV, Harry was paid to tell his personal story under the title Mental Wellness. Stepping into that arena Harry knew would irritate his brother. Mental health, a cornerstone of William's work with Kate through the Royal Foundation, was the theme of his imminent BBC TV documentary, A Royal Team Talk, tackling mental health. Even more inflammatory was Harry's agreement with Apple to describe intimately his relationship with his family. Harry doesn't even care, though, anymore. I mean, he's so past the point of caring what William and Catherine think. His mind has been so poisoned against his family that he is welcoming these opportunities to jab and to undercut the things that he knows are meaningful to his brother and his brother's work. The details of the two families' divorce was nearly finalized. The Royal Foundation would be continued by the Cambridges. The Sussexes would create their own charity. Dissatisfied with Jason Knopf and his assistant Christian Jones, the Sussexes appointed a new press officer, Sarah Latham. Sarah Latham had worked for Tony Blair, the Clintons, and the Obamas. So she was well acquainted with the brand of publicity that Meghan would be interested in. Few watching Kate and Meghan warmly kiss at Westminster Abbey for the Commonwealth Day service could have realized that a major drama was about to be played out. On the 14th of March, Buckingham Palace announced that the Fab Four era was over, honestly, before it even got started. The Sussexes and Cambridge households were to split. The palace official spokesperson denied that the divorce was evidence of a rift. 3 weeks later, Sussex Royal was launched on Instagram. The brand Sussex promised to publish important announcements and shine a light on key issues direct to their followers. Within 6 hours, the site had attracted 1 million people, and that would rise within 1 year to nearly 5 million worldwide. But if you want to compare what those numbers actually are, because 5 million, you're like, wow, that's a lot. The Cambridges had 7.4 million without trying. And even grander and greater, people like David Beckham have 55 million, and Kim Kardashian has 156 million followers. So while they were able to gather 5 million together over the course of a year, that honestly is small potatoes in comparison to other major celebrities. The Sussex's Instagram account announced Harry's dynamic multi-part documentary series with Oprah Winfrey on mental health. And now the truth was out there. Meghan had committed herself and Harry to Oprah Winfrey. The Californian TV star had good reason to believe she was finally in control. And that's where we leave it. But, I mean, I cannot overstate how confused I was about the timeline of Meghan Markle. I really, really, really was not plugged into what was happening with her. I only vaguely knew what was going on once it was over. And even then, I didn't even watch the Oprah interview. I just watched clips of it. I was like, oh, those people are crazy. When I tell you I was naive about these people, I was, because I thought that Meghan didn't get along really good at the palace. She had a bad attitude. Then she decided to go home. And then once she was there, she made some deals. That just shows my colossal naivete about how this stuff works. No, you guys, before the wedding, she was planning it. And probably most of you guys realized that. I had no idea. None whatsoever. I knew she was diabolical. I had no idea just how much of a planner she is, just how much of an operator she is, how much of a networker. No idea whatsoever. And it makes me that much more certain that Harry is going to have a fight on his hands if he ever tries to get away from this woman. Because she's already planned what to do when he tries to get out, when he wakes up and realizes I'm trapped. And unless she decides to let him go, he's not getting out of there. He is her meal ticket. There's no way she's letting go of that cash cow. And once she's wrung him for all he's worth, he's already losing value. He left value the minute he left Britain. She would have been wiser to stay there because she could have still been, cashing in that check. But now that he's left, he's like a car driven off the lot. He was immediately worth less as soon as she came to America. So anyway, we'll see what goes on. In the next chapter, hang on, I closed the book. Let me see, the next chapter is called Pitching. I don't know what that's about. But I see Oprah Winfrey's name right up here and Gayle King, so you can only imagine that we're going to be pitching ourselves to the networks. Oh, what a tired couple these two are. All right, I will see you guys this weekend. Remember, new book this weekend. We're still, we're working on our new book. We've got hopefully 2 chapters. Oh, and I do want to set expectations for the week. Okay, listen. This coming up week, I'm going to be out of town. My husband and I are going house hunting in our new city. And I'm going to bring my mic with me. Probably not my lights. That seems a little bit crazy. I'm going to bring my mic with me. Hopefully I can get in some episodes next week. I should be able to, but I don't know. So anyway, next week I might be kind of quiet. But hopefully I can. And if not, I will see you a week from this weekend. Anyway, I'll talk to you later. Bye.